Money is supposed to be simple. Earn it, save it, grow it. But if it were that easy, everyone would be wealthy. Instead, we see lottery winners go broke, millionaires feel insecure, and regular people make the same financial mistakes again and again. Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money reveals the hidden truth. Financial success isn't about spreadsheets or IQ, it's about behavior. It's about how we feel about money, not just how we manage it. It's about fear and greed, about social pressure, about stories we tell ourselves and the emotional baggage we inherit without even realizing it. This isn't a book about picking stocks or budgeting apps. It's a timeless guide to something far more powerful, understanding yourself. Let's unpack 5 core lessons from the psychology of money and how they can completely reshape your financial future. Becoming rich is a thrilling story. It's the entrepreneur who takes a giant risk, the investor who bets big on a startup, the founder who works 100-hour weeks. These stories are loud, bold, dramatic. But staying rich, that's quiet. It's the art of doing nothing flashy, avoiding lifestyle creep, being more afraid of losing what you've built than hungry for what you haven't. As Housel says, getting money requires taking risks, being optimistic, and putting yourself out there. But keeping money requires the opposite: humility, fear, and frugality. Think of Mike Tyson. At one point he earned over $300 million, and yet it vanished. Why? Not because he didn't know how to earn, but because he didn't know how to keep. Or look at Warren Buffett. His wealth didn't come from one bold move. It came from playing a conservative, long game for over 80 years. Buffett's secret isn't genius, it's restraint. The lesson? Don't just learn how to win once, learn how to survive forever. When we think of getting rich, we imagine sudden leaps, jackpots, IPOs, breakthroughs. But Housel reminds us, real wealth is almost always the result of compounding, slow, quiet, patient growth. Here's a wild stat: 96% of Warren Buffett's net worth came after his 60th birthday. Not because he found a better strategy, but because he gave compounding enough time to work its magic. Compounding doesn't just apply to money, it applies to habits, to knowledge, to reputation. It's not glamorous, but it's exponential. Let's break it down. If you improve just 1% a day, you're 37 times better in a year. The same with saving. A few dollars invested early can turn into millions. But compounding punishes impatience. Pull out early and you break the chain. Most people don't fail to get rich because they picked the wrong asset. They fail because they didn't give their choices time to mature. Want to win in the long term? Respect the power of compounding and protect it with everything you've got. Intelligence helps, but it doesn't guarantee success. In fact, Housel argues that when it comes to money, behavior greater than brilliance. History proves this. Think of long-term capital management, a hedge fund run by Nobel Prize-winning economists. They used advanced math, elegant theories, and still lost billions. Why? Because they couldn't control their risk appetite. They ignored human behavior. Money is emotional. It triggers fear during a crash, greed during a boom, envy when your neighbor upgrades their car. Smart people often think knowledge will protect them. But markets don't reward IQ, they reward discipline. And discipline looks boring. It's skipping the hot stock tip, saying no to that shiny new toy, reinvesting dividends instead of spending them. It's building boring habits like automating your savings or sticking to an index fund. Housel puts it clearly, doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. So the question isn't, how much do you know? It's, can you stay calm when it counts? Most financial chaos starts with one mistake, not knowing when to stop. If you never define enough, nothing is ever enough. You'll always want more income, more recognition, more square footage. And that hunger, if left unchecked, will lead to risk, anxiety, and burnout. In the book, Housel tells the story of a hedge fund manager who owned a private jet, but still envied a tech billionaire with a bigger one. That's the danger of not having a personal definition of enough. The finish line keeps moving. Contrast that with Ronald Read, a janitor and gas station attendant, who quietly built an $8 million portfolio through consistent saving and investing. He didn't chase the next big thing. He just understood what enough looked like for him. The takeaway? Enough isn't a dollar amount, it's a mindset. It's saying, I have what I need. I don't need to gamble it for what I don't. The paradox? Once you feel like you have enough, you're finally free to live. One of the most damaging mistakes in personal finance is comparing yourself to others who are playing a totally different game. A day trader on Twitter? They're optimizing for speed and volatility. A retiree? They're optimizing for stability and security. A tech founder may need to reinvest aggressively, while you may need to pay off student debt. But when we copy others blindly, their spending, their strategies, their timelines, we often end up sabotaging our own goals. Housel warns, every decision people make with money is justified by taking the information they have at the moment and plugging it into their own unique view of the world. In other words, your plan should match your life. Ask yourself, what are you optimizing for? Early retirement? Freedom? Generational wealth? Flexibility? Safety? The game you're playing and the rules you're following should be based on your priorities, not the market's noise or your neighbor's Instagram. Humans don't make financial decisions based on spreadsheets. We make them based on stories. Stories about what success looks like. Stories about what money can do. And sometimes stories we inherit from our parents, communities, or culture without ever questioning them. Morgan Housel emphasizes that the most powerful force in finance isn't logic. It's narrative. If your story says, wealth equals happiness, you'll chase it relentlessly. If your story says money is evil, you might subconsciously sabotage your finances. The danger isn't just believing the wrong story, it's not realizing you're living one at all. One of the most dangerous assumptions in finance is that what worked before will work again. But the future is always a little bit different. New technologies, new crises, new rules. Just because your parents bought a house at 25 doesn't mean that's your path. Just because a stock went up yesterday doesn't mean it will tomorrow. Housel calls this anchoring to the past, using old data to make new decisions, often without realizing how much the world has changed. The better approach? Stay flexible. Stay humble. Recognize that uncertainty is permanent, and resilience matters more than precision. Financial success isn't about being exactly right. It's about being broadly correct and staying in the game long enough to benefit from it. The Psychology of Money isn't just a book, it's a mirror. It forces us to look inward, to question not just how we earn money, but how we feel about it, how we talk about it, how we use it to signal things to others and to ourselves. The truth is, personal finance is more personal than financial. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be aware of your impulses, your goals, your story. Because in the end, wealth is less about the size of your bank account and more about your relationship with time, freedom, and peace of mind. So take a breath, define what enough looks like. Play your own game. And remember, the goal isn't to beat everyone else at money. It's to live a life that feels rich to you. If this changed how you think about money, hit subscribe. In our next episode, we'll revisit the Almanac of Naval Ravikant and explore how to build wealth and happiness without losing your soul.